listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
There, let's try the audio. Let's try that again here. Welcome to our show. It's Friday, October 4th, 2019. And thank goodness it's Friday. I got too many buttons on this setup is really the problem I've got here. It's National Taco Day. Those of you who keep track of such, who comes up with these ideas? It's National Taco Day. It's probably the taco companies that came up with this. Anyway, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, keeping us out of trouble, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. And I got to tell you, this whole situation with Biden, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Trump, it's starting to unravel. And it's looking to me like this could blow up in their face, the way Russiagate did, how they tried to create that whole Russian collusion. Russia helped Trump steal the election, pardon me, from Hillary Clinton. And then they had the Spygate situation where they were basically violating the law to spy on the duly elected president of the United States of America. And now they've come up with this whistleblower who may or may not actually exist, who's out there saying that Donald Trump asked the president of Ukraine to investigate Hunter Biden over some very questionable dealings with this gas company, which, by the way, there is a treaty between the United States and Ukraine that mandates cooperation in criminal investigations. So that's being covered. And everybody's being caught in lying. Last week in Des Moines, Iowa, Joe Biden told a reporter he never discussed his son's overseas business dealings. Hunter Biden said exactly the opposite. Joe Biden was very much involved with all that was going on over there. So a batch of newly released documents, including court filings, notes from interviews conducted by Rudy Giuliani, has put the spotlight back on the Biden family dealings in Ukraine, even as the House Democrats' impeachment probe tries to zero in on Trump's push to convince Kiev to investigate them. That's the situation here. The Bidens appear to have committed some serious crimes, corruptions, in Ukraine. Donald Trump said it needs to be looked into, and the Democrats want to impeach Donald Trump for trying to get at the bottom of the crime to make way to elect the guy who committed the crime. That's how completely Twilight Zone this whole thing is going on. But basically, they're estimating that Hunter, while serving on the board of Ukrainian natural gas firm, basically he made millions of dollars on the deal. Made millions of dollars on the deal here. So article that came out from LibertyNation.com, basically saying much the same thing. Is there a Ukrainian Armageddon dead ahead for the Democrats? Because if this turns out to be another nothing burger, and so far there's nothing there, this will be 3 strikes and they're out. They will not have a chance next year in 2020 because everybody will be just so disgusted with this whole situation. Another story along the same line here, and this is from Investment Watch blog, basically saying the imminent collapse of Adam Schiff's whistleblower hoax will devastate Dems in 2020 and beyond. And it probably will, because more and more people are out there saying, first of all, they're not sure there really was a whistleblower. They're not sure if Schiff either partly or completely wrote this complaint. He took it immediately to the House committee instead of the Inspector General. That's a violation of the law. Former CIA analyst Fred Fleitz is out there saying Schiff seriously violated committee rules, he should at the very least recuse himself from the impeachment inquiry. Of course, he's not going to do that. He's out there for blood. Somebody's pulling his strings. Who knows? Maybe he was one of those people who got caught down at Epstein's little palace. And he's going to keep going. They're out for blood. They're just absolutely, absolutely out for blood. All righty. Now, Sean Hannity, everybody's talking about transcripts. I want a transcript here, transcript there. Hannity calls for the release of every Biden-Ukraine phone call transcript, which sounds really good, except that we already know from Adam Schiff's little stunt last week, transcripts can be altered. They can be retyped. They can be edited. Transcripts really aren't. Same thing with the FD 302 from the FBI. It's the FBI agent's impression of what was said. It's not verbatim. And my first question is, why bother with transcripts? Because isn't the National Security Agency supposed to have recordings of all overseas phone calls? Where are they? Has the NSA just been wasting everybody's time and money? What Ukraine's prosecutor general is out there saying is that Biden and Burisma Gas Company may be linked to around 15 different cases of corruption, malfeasance, criminal behavior. 15 cases, that's a lot. That is an awful lot here. Now, apparently over at CNN, they're refusing to air Donald Trump's new ad about Joe Biden, Hunter Biden's Ukraine ties, in part because it mocks the CNN anchors. And that may have been a bad move on the part of Trump's advisors to do that. But apparently CNN didn't like the fact that the commercial was a little less respectful of the exalted profession of being a CNN prostitute or correspondent, and so they're simply refusing to run the ads here. Now, it's not just the Bidens. Everybody's getting dragged into this one. Nancy Pelosi's son was also a board member of a Ukrainian energy company. He traveled to Ukraine, and apparently Nancy Pelosi featured prominently in one of the company's advertisements. So they're all involved in this, and they all made huge amounts of money. And as like I said earlier in the week, the only thing that makes sense for all of these people to be going after Donald Trump is that they're all part of this same group that basically went into Ukraine. They wrecked the place. They're plundering it for all of its wealth, for everything that they can get. But Donald Trump isn't part of the gang. And that's why he's a threat. Because if he gets the goods on all of this corruption going on in Ukraine, then he's going to be able to send a lot of people to jail. And that's got to be what they're afraid of. And it's not like Pelosi and her husband have led clean, stellar lives here. And apparently Pelosi's home district includes San Francisco's StarKist Tuna headquarters in San Francisco. Now, StarKist is owned by Del Monte Foods and is a major contributor to Pelosi. StarKist is the major employer in American Samoa, employing 75% of the Samoan workforce. Now, Paul Pelosi, Nancy's husband, reportedly owns $17 million of StarKist stock. Now, last 2007, when they raised the minimum wage from $5.50 an hour to $7.25 an hour, Nancy Pelosi had American Samoa exempted from the increase. So Del Monte would not have to pay the higher wage. This would make StarKist production less costly than their competitors. So this is the way they like to play. This is the way that they like to play. All righty. Trump is floating the idea of suing Nancy Pelosi for falsely claiming that Adam Schiff used Trump's own words during the congressional hearing. Now, this goes back to Adam Schiff getting on the floor of the Congress, reading what purported to be a transcript of the phone call between President Trump and the president of Ukraine. It was immediately outed as being false. Schiff tried to get out of it by saying, well, it's a satire, it's a parody, really. But before he did that, Pelosi came on out and said, no, these are Trump's own words. Trump actually said all of this. This is all for real here. And so Trump is thinking about suing Pelosi, and I'd like to see him do that. I do have another suggestion, however, and that is that the dueling pistols used by Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr are currently located in the J.P. Morgan Chase headquarters in New York City, and I'm sure with a little bit of work they could be put back in fine working condition. Now, Pelosi, the rhetoric is just going completely crazy. Pelosi is now comparing the impeachment of Donald Trump to fighting the American Revolutionary War. I didn't think she was that old, to be very honest, but apparently, she's got the experience to know that fighting the American Revolutionary War was like impeaching Donald Trump. Personally, I would cast her as Colonel Tarrington. Now, Schiff is now known to have falsified a congressional record. That statement that he read, claiming to be a transcript of the phone call between Trump and the president of Ukraine. He falsified it. And he could be found guilty of conspiracy on that alone. So he is in trouble. And the Democrats are panicking because 3 strikes and you're out. Ukraine Gate is starting to go down. So now they're trying to come up with other whistleblowers. Oh my goodness, there are look at all the whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork here. So there's a whistleblower from the Internal Revenue Service, again using secondhand info, that claims that a Treasury appointee may have tried to interfere in an audit of Trump or Pence. And again, we have a violation of the rules because supposedly the whistleblower is a career IRS official who filed the complaint with secondhand knowledge, then leaked the story to the Washington Post. Something that you are not supposed to do. All right, Hillary Clinton is back in the news, and we can look forward to seeing more of her than we would care to as she ramps up for 2020 here. But she's out there trying to say that, that she's the victim of the witch hunt. It's not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an evil man. She's the victim of a witch hunt, and she's basically getting ready to throw her hat in the ring and is talking about this renewed State Department investigation into her private email server, which we now know was blind copying all of this classified information to a Gmail address bearing the name of a Chinese company, and that's the real witch hunt. So throw the water, Dorothy, throw the water. And remember, no intelligence agency ever saw the evidence of the alleged Russian hacking reported by CrowdStrike. All we have is Seth Rich's dead body. All right, we're going to take a phone call now from Angel in New York City. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, I'd like to comment on the 2020 presidential race. I'd like to leave a website, and it's www.VOTERMCKINNEY2016.com. Thank you.
Okay, we'll certainly try and get it on up there, but a little bit of advice.
For your listeners, they could check it out, and maybe they can comment on it next week.
Okay, we can do that, but little piece of advice for webmasters, and I didn't even follow it myself when I set up my website. The shorter you can keep the name, the easier it is for people to remember it. And
well, actually is www.StarlightMcKinney216.com.
So Cynthia McKinney is throwing her hat in the ring?
Well, check out the website. You can go to it from there.
Okay, the question I asked is Cynthia McKinney throwing her hat in the ring for 2020? Okay, because if she is, she's going to get my support. All right, Angel, thank you very much.
Well, I'll tell you what. Contact her and mention that website and get the information from her. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to let you go and get on back to doing the news here. So we're talking about Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton had the temerity, the effrontery, if you will, to come on out urging Trump officials involved in the impeachment inquiry to, quote, tell the truth, end quote. Now, this is the same woman who's been lying for 3 years about why she lost the 2016 election, not to mention that wonderful little video collection of her lying straight for something like 11 minutes that YouTube is trying to erase from the web without success, I might add, out there saying, you have to tell the truth. Definitely do that. And again, Hillary is definitely out there. She's getting ready to run. And even worse, they're prepping the third generation Clinton for a run for the White House. We've already heard talk about first a run for Congress. So Chelsea Clinton calls Donald Trump the greatest scam in American political history, and she doubles down on her indictment of the president during an appearance on The View with Hillary Clinton. So they're already nurturing her. They're teaching her their ways. They're going to get. They're going to be able to do what the Kennedys wanted to do and weren't able to do, and that is 3 generations. Now, Rashida Tlaib is telling constituents that her Democratic colleagues are looking at ways to arrest White House officials who refuse to comply with subpoenas as part of an impeachment inquiry against President Donald Trump. Now, remember, there is nothing in the Constitution about an impeachment inquiry. There's an investigation, usually conducted by the Department of Justice. But I mean, you've got Rashida is already out there talking about, we're going to start arresting the cabinet members. This thing is spinning wildly, wildly out of control. People need to calm down about this thing here. Do you remember back in 2016, Maxine Waters, especially after Trump won the election, she was urging people to harass Trump officials in public places, go on into the restaurants and disturb their meals and just cause all this kind of a ruckus. And now, of course, she's complaining that she is getting threats. You know, Mad Maxine is out there saying, no, you're supposed to attack the conservatives. You leave us liberals alone. We're liberals. We're the good people. Conservatives, they're the evil ones. Go after them. Another little article here talking about John Bolton's revenge tour. And John Bolton is out there saying now that he has been let go from the White House, he is unshackled. And he's basically out there talking about alluding to his policy differences with President Trump. And he's out there saying that he was sure the leadership of North Korea is delighted I'm here today in a private capacity, and that he was now free to speak in unvarnished terms about matters of the day. Well, that is not entirely true, because from the time when I held a security clearance a long time ago, you signed a non-disclosure agreement, which includes a clause saying that for so long a period after you end your work, you're not allowed to talk about it. So Bolton may be in violation of that. I'm sure that Trump had him sign an agreement to that effect. I can't imagine anybody being allowed to work at the White House without signing a non-disclosure and security agreement. But John Bolton is out for revenge. For all we know, he wrote this whistleblower memo. And he's admitting there were policy differences between him and the president. And what John Bolton forgot is the president is the president. And his policy decisions are the policy. We've got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And once again, we're holding our hands on out and saying, please, please donate to Republic Broadcasting, or we're going to have to put Dave out on the street corner with a change machine on his belt to just try and pick up a little extra coinage that way here. Okay. Leading up to Nancy Pelosi's declaration that the investigations the Democrats were conducting effectively amounted to an impeachment inquiry, all the polls delivered one clear message: impeachment was wildly unpopular with the American people. And then all of a sudden, after Pelosi's announcement, the polls in the corporate media came out basically deadlocked, even. Did Pelosi really change everybody's mind? No, it turns out what's going on, the corporate media oversample Democrats to get the numbers they want. They'll sample maybe 100 conservatives and then 150 Democrats in order to get the numbers that they want. All right, we're going to take a phone call now from Frank in North Carolina. Aloha, Frank. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, back when I used to be on the internet, I think it's easier if you just tell people the name of the website and they can punch it into a search engine
Yes.
rather than go, the route of WW. Now I don't know. It may not work that way anymore. The way they've kind of rearranged the search engines. I don't know if that still works, but.
Well, you don't even need to use the www anymore. That's been kind of deprecated. I mean, you can put it in there and nothing will happen. But for the most part, you don't need to bother with that.
Well, what I was going to say
if
was...
the server is configured correctly. Let me put that qualifier in there.
What I was going to say was, unless Cynthia McKinney were to say something really stupid about wanting to take our guns away or rounding up evil white men terrorists, white nationalists or something, she would definitely have my vote. I would be excited to go and vote for Cynthia McKinney. I think that that's the best.
The lady has the courage of her convictions. I remember when she stood up there, trying to stop the war in Afghanistan, trying to stop the use of these so-called emergency food packets that were actually disguised grenades, which was a dirty trick. I remember how the AIPAC just worked, to get her kicked out of Congress here. I mean, we've had her on my show. She's been out there with the flotillas to Gaza a couple of times. Yeah, this is a cool lady. If she were to step into the ring, yeah, I would definitely support her.
I hope it's true.
I hope so too.
I'll definitely vote for her. I'll definitely vote for her if she's listening. And I'll do my best to get as many other people to get out and vote for her as I can.
Well, thank you very much for the information. Thank you very much for the phone call. And Cynthia, if you're listening, call on in. Let us know what's going on here, because there's a tremendous amount of confusion over that website the first caller had here. All right, getting on back to this so-called impeachment investigation. Apparently, Nancy Pelosi, in her authority as Speaker of the House, will not allow Republicans to subpoena witnesses. It's a kangaroo court. They want to subpoena, the Democrats want to subpoena all these people. They want to subpoena Trump's cabinet members. They want to subpoena all these other people. They don't want the Republicans to be able to subpoena witnesses who might counter the official story. I mean, this is like, it's a kangaroo court. It's a mob boss trial here. All right, let's take another phone call here. Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I want to respond to Tom from Florida because, like I said, Tom, I don't have a problem with him. He's right on.
Be gentle. Be gentle.
Well, no, Mike, I agree with him 99.9%. Like he talked about Sweden the other day, and so did I. Not yesterday, but the day before, about with the abortions and the rapes and the knife attacks over there. They got knife attacks in Britain, and just the Wahhabists letting them go and fight and then coming back and giving them a paycheck a month, which is the West is doing. But yeah, he's wrong. He's wrong on Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity's part of the establishment. Don't ever go with Sean Hannity. Okay, because Sean Hannity is part of the same group of people. And so is Laura Ingraham. I don't trust her. I don't trust any of them. I won't turn my back on any of them. Because they all get paid a lot of money.
Oh, yes.
To do to do what they do. So, and you know what, Mike? You actually think, even Tucker Carlson, to a point, do you think they do the amount of research you do or just we do in general? They get a script. Tucker does more, but they still read off a script per se. They stick to the guidelines of the company they're working for, right? They're not gonna...
I can imagine some of them are writing some of their own copy, but it's true. The vast majority of it is produced by the editorial staff, and it's put on the little teleprompter, and they read it off the camera screen. Okay, Dustin, got to put you on hold. Okay. Yeah, don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you after these words from response.
are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Here we're talking with Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, there's something that everybody needs to understand going in, and that is that everybody in the government and the corporate media is lying on behalf of whoever their particular master happens to be. People who are telling the absolute unvarnished truth, they don't get these high-paying jobs in the corporate media or in government. You know, they're left out here in the hinterland of independent media, you know, living on spare change we find underneath the seat cushions, because we're of no use to the rich and powerful if we're going to tell the truth, because the truth is of no use to the rich and powerful. And so you're absolutely right. We need to take what we get from people like Tucker Carlson, and I forget who it was who said that good propaganda is like rat poison. 95% of it is good, healthy food. It's that other 5% you got to watch out for. And so you will have these talking heads and politicians who will tell you a true story to build your trust, to get your confidence, and then they'll hit you with the lie to get you off into a war or raise your taxes or something else. So you have to take every single story that you hear on a case-by-case basis and take it apart and be your own best analyst. Don't trust Tucker Carlson because he's Tucker Carlson. Don't trust Michael Rivero because he's Michael Rivero. Listen to what Tucker and Michael are saying and decide for yourself, does this make sense, or have they gone off smoking opium?
Yeah, you got to use your own brain and do your own research and use their talking points as a template. But like, you know, with Tucker Carlson, he goes, well, yeah, I would never want to live in Russia. Well, people live in Russia, and they're all going to work every day. So, I mean, you know, see, that's the problem with that. You know, like he's like, oh, there's no Russia, you know, but I would never want to live in Russia. It's totalitarian. Well, what the hell are we? You know?
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the point right on the head. We're very totalitarian in this country. We have fans of the show that live in Russia. They love it there. They think it's great. It's a beautiful city, and you know, they're very happy there. We've become more totalitarian than Stalin and Hitler put together. And let's throw Pol Pot into the mix as well.
And, you know, hey, at least Russia's got a surplus. They're not a deadbeat nation like we are. You know, like we're printing money out of thin air, you know, and then they paid all off their debt. We have debt up the wazoo. So,
22 trillion.
It's just a joke. Yeah, I mean, it's just a joke. Like, with Sean Hannity just pisses me off. Like, because, like, remember Ollie North? Is he even on TV anymore? Because he's you know, that's one thing with Fox News. They had those guys on. CNN has their guys on. MSNBC has their guys on. But they're all part of the same group. People don't realize this, but, you know, at the end of the night, they all go to the same bars. They all go to the same parties. And they all go to the same restaurants together.
And they're all Pentagon advisors. That's a big story. You'll have the TV network news will say, we have this, you know, expert on Iranian relations. And what they don't mention is the guy works at the Pentagon planning for a war with Iran.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm going to say this with Trump. Like, Trump's not part of their group, but people just don't realize this. Trump doesn't mean Trump is like Mother Teresa. He's got his own group. You know, he's got his own skeletons in the closet. I don't know what they are, but every human being is flawed somehow. But, I mean, it's just this whole...
Blair isn't.
I got to go back to Jim... Huh?
Blair isn't.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yes,
but, you know, Mike...
he agrees with me.
You going to be on tonight?
What do you mean by be on tonight?
At 6 o'clock?
Yeah, we're doing the full 3-hour show, and there we go. We're doing the full 3-hour show, so yeah, we're going to be here.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, I just want people to keep it on. Trump is just a different part of the same group, okay? Like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo is still there. John Bolton's probably going to write a book. So nothing's changed, Mike. You know, like I look what's going on. There's just nothing has been fixed. And where's the indictments? Where's the wall built? Where's the arrest? I still don't
Craig
see
Roberts
it.
said exactly that same thing earlier today. Where are the indictments for what is obviously an attempted coup d'etat?
They're not coming from William Barr because he's part of the group. Like,
well, that's certainly what Nancy Pelosi is now out there screaming, is that William Barr is part of the cover-up.
Yeah, well, she's another group of the crap. But, yeah, I don't know, Mike. I give up because I get so upset. I'm like, people don't realize you got different groups, but it's the same outcome. You know,
well, it's different factions, and they're fighting for different things. And we ordinary Americans, we get caught in the middle.
Okay, Mike, have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here, get on back to the news. And as you can see, I am wearing one of the Indiana t-shirts that was sent to me as a gift here. I'm still trying to figure out what Hoosiers mean. And I hope it isn't obscene, because people, when they pass me in the hallway, they all have this knowing smile on the face. Anyway, getting on back to the news here. President Trump has sent a message to Nancy Pelosi, basically daring her to hold a vote in the House of Representatives regarding impeachment. Not an impeachment inquiry, but impeachment. And he's saying basically the White House will not cooperate until the House holds the vote on impeachment. Now, he's taking a real chance here. And unless he knows he's got the votes to defeat impeachment, or maybe he's willing to take the impeachment and just go over to the Senate and say, they're not going to remove me, case is over, and diffuse it that way, the way that Bill Clinton did. But it is a sign of emerging strength coming from the president that he's willing to take this kind of chance. It's reckless, it's dangerous, but it's gutsy. It is very, very gutsy. And as a matter of fact, I was having lunch with somebody earlier today who was making the observation that he was relieved to see Donald Trump finally start to show some strength. And I'm in agreement on that one. And if I had the means to do it, I'd make up a set of presidential brass knuckles and send them over to the White House and say, Donald, get to work. Now, George Soros is responding to Rudy Giuliani's comments, linking Soros to a Ukrainian organization accused of meddling in the 2016 U.S. election for Hillary Clinton, as well as another organization whose joint report with BuzzFeed was cited 3 times in an August 12th whistleblower complaint lodged against President Trump by a CIA employee. And Soros is just out there saying, oh, Rudy Giuliani's just ranting. There's nothing there. It's Russian propaganda. How could you possibly listen to a man who's worth, only a few $1 million? I'm a billionaire. You've got to listen to me. And by the way, as a little side note, George Soros, is now banned in 6 countries: the Philippines, Hungary, Russia, Turkey, Poland, and Pakistan. Well, technically he's not banned. He can go into those countries anytime he wants to. They just will not let him back out again. So let's take up a collection and buy Soros a ticket to one of those countries as a Christmas present. Here, George, surprise! All right, now, this next story, I have to question Trump's judgment, or at least the advice that he is getting from his people. As you know, Trump asked Ukraine to investigate the Bidens, which was covered by that treaty from 1999. Well, apparently yesterday, he was talking up Ukraine and basically said China ought to investigate Joe Biden, because apparently there's been something going on over there involving millions of dollars. The problem there is, to the best of my knowledge, and if I'm wrong, please call in and correct me on this, the United States and China do not have a treaty mandating cooperation on criminal investigations. And so the Democrats have seized on this call for China to investigate the Biden, saying it is very clearly an attempt to influence the 2020 investigation, 2020 election rather. But I'd like to remind everybody, being a presidential candidate or the son of a presidential candidate does not grant you immunity from criminal investigations. Now, the Chinese may just decide on their own recognizance that they need to look at it, because they're not very happy with American politicians right now, and justly so. Of course, that could backfire the other way. They could say, we're not going to do Trump any favors, not after all the sanctions and everything. Heck with him. All right, here's an interesting little story. This is from Kitchener Today. And up in Canada, there is a journalism group that is launching an anti-fake news campaign ahead of the election. And it was basically started because polls by Ipsos Earnscliffe Strategy Group, and MIT suggest that nearly all Canadians have come across misinformation online, yet only 40% feel they know how to differentiate between the news and the real thing. So here's the irony. The people who have been feeding Canadians misinformation online want to set up a group to reassure said Canadians that their messages are the truth. That's what it's coming on down to. No, we're not lying. They're lying. The liars are over there. The other day I said, we're in a war of lies. You've got two sides telling lies about each other. The side that gets the most people to believe in them wins the war. That's what's going on here. Little bit of good news. Over in Washington, D.C., there is an organization called the Newseum. It's this self-congratulatory monument to the liberal media. It's in our nation's capital. It will be closing at the end of the year amid long-standing financial difficulties, because apparently people are so tired of liberal spin in the media being shoved into their living rooms, they didn't feel like they needed to walk into a building and see it. So the organization said it struggled financially for a number of years, and their current location is unsustainable. They're looking for a new home for the Newseum. And I've got this nice little shredder sitting here right next to the desk. And you guys can have that for free. Just to show you how generous I can be with the opposition. All right, getting into international news, things are getting a little bit serious. Last week we were talking about how the fact that Mike Pompeo was running around the United Nations General Assembly trying to revive this story that Assad had used chlorine gas on ISIS back in May. No evidence to support it whatsoever. But he was out there hard selling this whole situation. And so basically he's trying to restart the war against Syria. Now the reasoning is very obvious. The United States agenda is in the middle of a long series of multiple wars. And the first time they are seen to lose one, the wheels come off the war wagon, whether it's Afghanistan or Syria or even Yemen. And so the United States needs to get Syria going again somehow, even if they have to go back and rely on lies to do it again. And again, you're being lied to. They need to get that war going. They can't admit, well, we lost it. We're sorry, we lost the war. But, you know, hey, even though we lost in Syria and we didn't win in Afghanistan and we're not exactly doing well in Iraq, it's on to Iran. Are you with us? Heck no. Big surprise coming out of Syria. Apparently, Russia is testing the S-500 missile in Syria. And they started this joint military drill involving heavy military equipment, rocket launchers, and warplanes, and testing the new S-500 air defense system, which basically they've identified some issues with it, which will be corrected before the missile goes into serial production next year. So they're already up to the S-500. They're pulling ahead of us. We're still mucking about with trying to hot rod the Patriot, and they're already up to the S-500. Now, Russia is also rolling out a missile early warning system in the Arctic. And 2 new Voronezh-type missile early warning radars will become operational in 2022 in the Komi Republic and the Murmansk region in northern Russia. But do you remember at the height of the Cold War, everybody was building radars up there? There was the Bemuse line, the Dew line, and if you go on Google Earth, you can still see the remains of these facilities sitting there. In fact, there's a TV show called Mysteries of the Abandoned, and they've actually done a couple of episodes of these just gigantic structures with these huge radars that were in them. Think of all that money. All that money. Not one of those radars ever actually detected a missile coming across the North Pole. But what the heck, it's just money, and it's not like we're spending our own money here. I mean, that's what the American... Little bit of positive news here. Apparently over in Ukraine, this Kiev delegation is signing on to what's called the Steinmeier Formula for Peace in the Donbass. And they're basically looking at maybe letting that calm down. That would be a wonderful thing to have happen. See the Donbass and Ukraine go back to, hugging and kissing and trading wet kisses, and the rest of that thing. Okay, over in France, the Yellow Vest protests are still ongoing, and it has started to take its toll on the police. And apparently, we got to take another break for commercials. All right, more about the French police when we come back.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your Super Strength Cleansing Tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for Super Strength Tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And Aloha America, welcome back to our show here. And I've commented before It just almost feels like the entire world is sinking into chaos everywhere. I mean, is there any place peaceful left here on Earth? And in this part of Indiana definitely qualifies. The only thing I've had to deal with here is an irate squirrel. But over in France, there was another protest. 20,000 people in the streets of Paris waving banners, lighting flares, singing La Marseillaise, blowing whistles. And if you thought it was another Yellow Vest protest, you'd be wrong. This is a march of anger by the French police. They're not wearing yellow safety vests. Their banners and flares are blue. They are the officers, sergeants, detectives, and inspectors who've had quite enough. They're on strike, and they're telling the government of Emmanuel Macron it is time to move along. And I wish them a lot of luck here. If you're the leader of a country and you don't have the support of your own population, you're a lousy leader. But let's just be honest about that right now. If you're maintaining power through authoritative means of terror, torture, whatever, that's the mark of a failure. You're a failed leader. Over in Hong Kong, things are continuing to get out of hand. Fires are apparently being started, arson fires. And the Hong Kong protesters have gone on a rampage. They are vowing to defy the government's mask ban. Hong Kong government basically declared it's a crime to wear a mask to conceal your identity from the police cameras that are out there recording people doing things that Hong Kong wishes they wouldn't do, or actually Beijing wishes that they wouldn't do. And the Chinese people are ignoring it. This could turn into another Tiananmen Square. It really, really could here. Now, there's a new concern coming on up here, and it has to do with the fact that there's been a bit of a tiff, if you will, between India and China, and it has to do with a stretch of road along the border that both sides claim. Now, it's just a strip of road. Paint a yellow line down the middle of it and share it. But apparently China says, no, this belongs to us, and India says belongs to. They're literally talking about going to war over this little stretch of road in the Himalayas. And if it were to go nuclear, it would take out billions of people. Does any of this make any sense at all to anybody? That's what I want to know. Over in Iraq, things are continuing to deteriorate there. 30 protesters have been shot. There's now a complete internet blackout and 24-hour curfews. You are not allowed out of your home. We'll be right back after station identification.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And again, more war talk over there in Iran. A senior Iranian military commander hailed the country's deterrent system as one that has helped keep enemies at bay and offset economic pressures exerted on the Islamic Republic by the U.S. and its allies over the past year. So this is the chief commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, has cautioned Israel against waging a new war, saying any such mistake would lead to annihilation. I really do hate it when they start talking like that. To prove the point, Major General Hossein Salami, and yes, that really is his last name, when taking the floor at a meeting of the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, stressed that Tel Aviv is no longer viewed as a threat due to an upgrade in his country's deterrence capacity. In other words, they've got rockets that can hit Tel Aviv. And maybe that's the reason the U.S. is moving their command and control facility from Qatar back to South Carolina. Because remember, when Donald Trump pulled out of the P5+1 nuclear deal, the big stink back then was he wanted a new deal that would include long-range ballistic missiles, and Iran said no. That's where everything really got ugly. Now, former Israeli Army Chief Yair Golan is warning Israel could share the same fate as Nazi Germany as a result of the growing influence of extremist religious forces. And this guy, he's hit the nail right on the head. We must be very, very careful because among us, there are radicals with a messianic outlook who will use Israeli democracy. And I remind everyone, the Nazis came to power in a democratic manner. There are still some people inside Israel who are showing some common sense. What I want to know is why everybody on the planet, except for here in Santa Claus, seems perpetually angry at each other. And I know a big part of it, everybody's broke, nobody has any money. You know, our roads are falling apart, bridges are collapsing. Our country is being allowed to basically rot on the vine while our politicians fist fight with each other, try and start more wars here. And a little bit of a calculation here. Get out the calculator and just figure out, even if, hypothetically, the United States conquers the entire world and loots all those conquered nations for all of their wealth, it still won't pay back all the money that is owed to the Federal Reserve. It cannot be done. It's a losing proposition. Okay, so American pop star and actress Demi Lovato, who, to be very honest, I had never heard of before, has been accused of ignorance on the Palestinian issue after she posted several photos from her sponsored trip to Israel with lengthy captions praising the country as absolutely magical. And many have accused the 27-year-old singer of ignoring the apartheid system affecting Palestinians, as she is pictured exploring landmarks such as the Western Wall and Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial. Her fans took to Twitter to highlight the racist Israeli policies enforced on Palestinians, including the destruction of their homes, land grabs and being denied their rights to live, work, and move freely. The backlash was so great, Lovato blocked the comment feature on Instagram. Now, the reason Israel did this is they're great believers in celebrity power. They want celebrities to come to Israel and say, see, we're in the modern world. We have these rock stars. We have these movie stars. We've got, all of these people. They think we're great. Therefore, you should think we're great. Hasn't worked out very well, as this thing demonstrates. They've even tried to draw film production to Israel. And I'm trying to remember the name of this. It was a mini-series, and it was shot in Jerusalem, and it was shot very well. And I wish I could remember the name of it, and it had to do with trafficking of illegal antiquities. It didn't get political, but it was a really good show. I wish I could remember the name of it because I really did enjoy it. And I'll be very honest, Jerusalem is someplace I'd like to visit if they weren't going to shoot me the moment I got off the plane. Over in Haiti, things are still getting very tense over there. They are also setting fire to buildings. They've looted the police station, and it's all in a drive to remove the president of Haiti, who is accused of massive amounts of corruption. And apparently they burned down a courthouse. Demonstrators looted a police station, made off with ammunition, ballistics vests, and even office furniture. Yeah, when you are the leader of a country and your people are acting like that, you are a failed leader. You need to look in the mirror and say, I am doing something wrong. Usually what it is you're kowtowing to the rich and your supporters and helping to plunder and loot the place. And then you wonder why the population gets upset. We're being plundered. The age of piracy has returned. You're going to love this next story. We have been talking a lot about the failure of America's military-industrial complex to actually deliver on weapons that are really going to work. We've been talking about the Independence class and Freedom class littoral combat ships that were so bad on sea trials, they're being scrapped. They're going back to the drawing board on that one. The Zumwalt stealth destroyer, which turns out not to be that stealthy. There's the F-22 stealth fighter, which turns out can be tracked by the Russians and still asphyxiates its pilots. The F-35, which just demonstrated the Germans can track that one through the space. You have the Gerald R. Ford. Still has problems with its whiz-bang catapult. They can't get the radars to synchronize. It's just a disaster, one after the other. And you begin to realize a big part of the problem is that these defense contractors have let go the legacy engineers, the people who grew up knowing how to make this stuff and make it work. And they've hired in a bunch of H-1B visa students from all these colleges across the world who don't really know what they're doing. And they put them in a little cubicle and say, okay, you're going to work on a system that does this. And there's no integration. There's no systems integration. And that's why this stuff doesn't work very well. So, the latest story. Apparently, America's largest military shipbuilding company has been accused of falsifying tests and certifications on stealth coatings of its submarines that put American lives at risk. This is a complaint filed in federal court last month. Huntington Ingalls Industries, which is a spinoff of Northrop Grumman Shipbuilding Wing, knowingly and or recklessly filed falsified records with the Navy, claiming it had correctly applied a coating called a special hull treatment to Virginia-class attack submarines, which would allow the vessels to elude enemy sonar. And what was really interesting about this story is not all that long ago, I saw this documentary about the Virginia-class submarine. And they just went on and on about how invisible it was to enemy submarines and couldn't possibly be detected. And I watched the show because they filmed it in in Pearl Harbor, where we have one of the Virginia-class submarines stationed there. And now all of a sudden it comes on out, the coding isn't that anechoic. The ship can be found with the appropriate sonar. I mean, it's ridiculous. All right, let's go back to the phones here. Tom in Florida, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day to you, Michael. And I want to rebut that guy Jim yesterday talking about me with the Muslims or the Middle Easterns. I'll call them Middle Easterns, okay?
Yes.
But before I go there, I'll get back to him in a second, Michael. You just brought up something that really is perplexing to me. These illegals come here. Nancy Pelosi, when you call her office, her first thing they ask you want to speak in Spanish or English. This is the modus of operandi. These people are coming here. Well, exactly. And these people are coming here. They don't want to learn the common language. They got 10 stations here in South Florida in Spanish and 3 in English. Now, you figure it out. No other group was able to do that. Now, I want to ask Trump, I'd like to ask everybody in Congress and the Senate, you allowed invasion of this country, them to keep their own cultural identity in this country. If they're coming here to speak Spanish, why don't they stay where the heck they're at and go back to South America? Okay? Yeah. The Germans, there's millions of Germans in here. They don't have 10, 20 radio stations in Milwaukee, okay? Or Chicago or Baltimore speaking German. But these people come here, they keep their, look at California, it's gone. California, Mexifornia, I don't care what you call it, California, the place is gone. They have 20 radio stations in Spanish.
There are lots of Germans and German families in this immediate area of Indiana. A lot of them have opened up Hofbrauhauses and everything. They speak excellent English, and they're very, very nice people.
That's correct. That's right. You know, a lot of your calls go, well, that guy's always talking about immigration. Well, immigration is the biggest problem because they're taking Texas blue. I don't want dum-dums listen to your show that don't understand that. That's what the whole thing is about, is to take over your country. And they're not coming here, like you say, to learn the English language or to care about American history. They're coming here to take over the country. I live in South Florida. I can tell you I got expertise on this subject, okay? They have 20 radio stations in Spanish. You got this guy, what's the one guy in Spanish, Billard, and all these other leftists are promoting this invasion of Spanish to be the prominent language of the country. If you don't see it, then you're blind. Okay.
You know the good news about Florida, right? You know the good news about Florida. Their law banning sanctuary cities went into effect today.
Yes, well, I know that. That's why I was telling you about Ron DeSantis. I met the man in person. I shook his hand. We talked. I talked to the guy for 5 minutes and told him, and you know what? He got the message with me because he's from Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. Where, he understands the good old boy network because, he's not going to play with this. Well, this is America. You speak English. You come here. You respect the language of this country and the founding fathers who built this country. Otherwise, get your BS out of here. We don't need it. You go to South America. You got a giant continent down there, Venezuela, Colombia, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay. You go to Brazil, wherever. You stay Argentina. Stay out of here. If you want to come here and become an American citizen, I got no problem with that. You want to swear the oath of allegiance to this country, fine. If you don't, take your ass to the Middle East. But you know what, Michael, that guy Jim, he always besmirches me, and he's always allowed to ridicule that guy. Listen, Jim, I want to let you know something. The Muslims, whatever you want to call, I call them Middle Easterns. If that's what you like to say. Yesterday you say Christians commit more crimes than these Middle Easterns from the Middle East. So I think you're wrong there, Jim. Okay. And, you don't see a bunch of blonde-haired men going to the Middle East and raping black-haired women that are Muslim, okay? You don't see Norwegians or Swedish men or English men going over to their countries and raping them by the thousands, Jim, okay? And I don't want to even get into the World Trade Tower nonsense, but look, the Saudi Arabians, they don't really care about, they like to have the trophies. But you know what, Michael, this is all about this guy Jim always besmirching me.
Tom, we're not sure who did the World Trade Towers. I don't think it was Muslims or Middle Easterners, unless you count Israelis.
Well, I agree with you, Michael, on that. You know who I think? You know who I think did it. I think the same way you on that. You know that. I already told you. I think it's Zog. You know what Zog is, so I'm not going to get into that. But
I think it was
Jim.
Tom. I think it was a joint operation between the CIA and Mossad. And I know for a fact that George Bush was in on it because of the way the Secret Service refused to move to protect him when he was reading about pet goats at that school in Florida. And that meant the Secret Service knew that he wasn't a target that day. And the only way they could know that is they knew what the targets were going to be.
Michael, I totally agree with you on that, 100%. And I will say this about the Bushes. They're to me, they're low life, skull and bone, whatever you want to call it. But Jeb Bush, if he would have been the president instead of Trump, we'd have 55 more million illegals in here right now with Jeb Bush, that clown, the one that gave us Common Core. He was a Common Core idiot, and he's making you watch the Idiot Box, which is the TV, and all these people are getting dummied down, these young millennials. It's disgusting, and Jeb Bush is really behind a lot of that. Yeah, so I don't want to get started on the Bushes. I know where even Bush lives over here in South Florida, okay? He better speak Spanish than English. He tells you that. He better be a Spanish speaker than an English speaker. So if that Jeb Bush feels that way, I don't know why he don't take his wife Colombia and move down to Mexico or Central America. That's where Jeb Bush ought to be living. Maybe you should go to Costa Rica. But, Jim, he's always saying that, look, Jim, I'm just a realist, and I understand that immigration, if it comes here legally, it's fine. If you come here illegally, forget it. We don't need you. That's all I got to say. Have a great day, Michael.
I'm in agreement
you know what it's all about.
I'm in agreement with, the comments that were made by Theodore Roosevelt about coming to the United States, where, if you wanted to come here and be an American, that was fine, as long as you understood that being here meant you were an American, that we had one language, that was English. We had one religion, that was Christianity. We had one flag to be loyal to. And if you were not willing to go along with that, then, kindly turn around and go home. But a huge part of this influx of illegal immigrants trying to turn Texas blue, they're being offered free stuff. They're being told, if you can get up here, we're going to give you free health care, and we're going to give you subsidized housing, and we're going to give you food, and we're going to take care of you long enough for you to vote Democratic in 2020.
Absolutely, Michael. Everything you say, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, no way. And you're right about Roosevelt, what he says. Speak softly, carry a big stick. That's all I got to say. And he was a great one.
Yes.
He gave us the Great White Fleet. So, yeah, he was great. He was definitely great.
My grandfather actually rode with them, with the Rough Riders.
Yeah, that's awesome. I went to Tampa, and I did see that he came out of Tampa when he went to Cuba, and that's where they actually staged everything. It was in Tampa because it's a lot closer to Cuba, actually, in the shipping lanes in Miami. So that was very interesting to see that. So,
well, I'll let you in on a little family secret here. The Rough Riders didn't do that much riding. They didn't have that many horses. They named themselves after Buffalo Bill's Wild West, Congress of the Rough Riders. That's where they got the name. But most of them had to march on foot.
Yes, sir. That's awesome. I didn't know that, but that's really cool to hear that. Okay, Michael, anyway, you have a great show. And Jim's a great caller, too. I can say that. He's a good caller, but he's got to realize he's got to see you on both sides of the coin, too, okay? That's all I got to say. So,
all right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to let you go here. Same to you. The phone lines are open again, 800-818. I'm sorry, 800-313-9443. I got to put stickers up here on the top of this thing. Apparently, according to this article over in Government Slaves, the U.S. military is toying with the idea of genetically engineering a race of super soldiers. In other words, they're going to basically, I guess, sometime around the moment of conception, go on in with one of these CRISPR machines and sort of tinker, make super soldiers, real-life Marvel comic book characters. Considering some of the successes they've had with this, like they just had in Brazil, I'm not sure it's a wonderful idea here. All righty. Marine Corps Commandant General David Berger, who just took office last July, basically came on out today saying the Marine Corps is unready for confrontation with rivals like China or Russia. The Corps is not optimized for great power competition, he said at the Heritage Foundation, and he's absolutely right. Our entire military doctrine for the last several years has been going into little tiny countries that can't really defend themselves and pound them to bits. And it's not just the Marines that are dealing with this. Our Air Force is not ready to take a force-on-force against Russia and China. Same thing with the Navy. They've gone in the wrong direction. Now, DARPA is planning a project to have a robotic satellite mechanic launched by 2022. And apparently, this is going to be this robotic servicing payload. And they want to have this spacecraft in orbit in 2022 to basically do orbital adjustments, in-space inspection, anomaly resolution, and to basically install self-contained payloads that are launched from the ground. Seems like kind of a clever way to do it if they can make it work. We'll be right back after these commercials.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, as you know, not too long ago, the Yemenites, the Houthis, successfully attacked a Saudi oil facility, cutting Saudi production supposedly in half, a significant hit to the world's production. And tensions are high in the area. Apparently, at this last week's General Assembly, Iran offered to take over responsibility for regional security, as basically a sort of a left-handed way of telling the United States you're not welcomed here any longer. But there's been a lot of questions asked. How was this attack carry it off. And of course, everybody's screaming, oh, it had to be Iran, had to be Iran. The Houthis couldn't possibly do this. Well, don't forget, last July, the Houthis held an air show, and they showed all these new drones and new weapons that they had developed, which apparently are very capable. They're very stealthy, and they're very difficult to stop. And the fact of the matter is that unless you accept the theory that Mohammed bin Salman stood the Saudi forces down and just let the attack come on in, which doesn't make a lot of sense, then the fact of the matter is that the Houthi attack just blew right past all the US weapons, the Saudi weapons, and punched holes in their petroleum infrastructure. So the Pentagon has had a study, and they've come on out and said that, yes, drones are very difficult to hit. Drone swarms are very difficult to hit, which we already knew. And they're saying that the only way to protect against a killing drone swarm is a diverse, layered missile defense, which is Pentagonese for give us more money so we can build the Patriot 6 and the Patriot 7 and the little half-size Patriot 3. And it's all about the money. It's all about the money. And the way they're spending money like crazy and not getting much for it. And by the way, on the front page of whatreallyhappened.com, we had this flashback article going back, to the way that military spending has always been completely out of control. $600 for a toilet seat. I mean, that kind of stuff. All right, let's talk about the economic news, because the news is not good there. France is vowing retaliatory measures if the US goes ahead with their EU sanctions on aircraft parts. And again, what's going on here is the world is learning how to get along without the United States. We're not the indispensable nation that we used to be. Other nations are building their own equipment. They're building their own machinery. They don't need us. That's the real issue. They don't need the United States of America. They don't need the dollar. It's the beginning of the end here. Now, having learned absolutely nothing from the blowback from the sanctions that are already out there, the United States is warning allies they'll be hit with sanctions if they do any military deals with Russia. And apparently this was triggered when India agreed to buy the S-400 surface-to-air missile system from Russia. And they risk huge punishments under the 2017 Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. This is the law that basically says we can stop doing business with anybody who does business with people we don't like. And it's going to backfire because the world is learning how to get along without the United States of America. I mean, India bought that missile system a year after that law was passed. They obviously didn't think it was going to be a factor. Anyway, out in California, the governor has signed the law allowing the creation of public banks. This is a major breakthrough, and of course they went up against all these lobbying groups from privately owned banks, commercial banks, and so forth. And I think this, if I'm not mistaken, makes California only the second state in the entire country besides South Dakota that allows for public banking. And maybe that's going to help turn things around for California, because by golly, they sure need all the help they can get. All righty, Forever 21 has gone into bankruptcy, and we're seeing this story out here from Government Slaves saying that the bankruptcy doesn't spell the end of brick and mortar retail, and I'm in agreement that it doesn't. Because the retail experience is I go into a building, I pick up the product I'm thinking of buying. I get to hold it in my hands. I get to look at its quality of construction, maybe even plug it in. and then I give my money to the store clerk. The store clerk gives me the product, and we both go happy. That's the essence of retail. Doing everything by eBay doesn't work. Got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy, but I must admit lately I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And of course, it was a lot easier being a pirate out there in Hawaii than it is here in the middle of Indiana, but we'll give it our best try. All right, so we're talking about Forever 21 going into bankruptcy. Does it spell the end of brick and mortar retail? No, I don't think it does, because of the instant gratification that you get from the retail experience. I walk into the store, I see what I want, I pick it up, I give the guy the money or the gal the money, and we both go home happy. That's the essence of the retail experience. And I'm amazed that so many businesses don't seem to understand that, and they think, you're going to order online and we're going to deliver by drone and we're going to save a lot of money that way. And you can get a lot of frustration. First of all, there's the wait time to get things. I had to order 2 pieces of equipment from eBay this last week for Claire's computer. They took forever to get here, and it turned out they didn't match the description that was on the eBay page anyway. Whereas I could go into a computer store and plug things together and say, yes, this is what I want. So I'm not a big fan of online purchasing. I realize, especially here in Indiana, where everything is at least 20 minutes away, you kind of have to do that. Tomorrow, we're going up to the Walmart to do some shopping for our new home because we're moving in on Sunday underneath thunder showers, supposedly. And so we have to get the basics, trash cans, bedroom scales, things like that, and get all of that done. That's a 25-minute drive each way. It's kind of getting frustrating. All righty. Apparently, major layoffs are coming at Sports Illustrated today. I certainly hope it isn't those girls in those bathing suits, because that was the only reason I ever read that particular publication here. And apparently, it is now estimated that robots are about to replace 200,000 U.S. banking jobs. And I'm going to reiterate one more time, as much as I love technology, although I love it a lot less than I did back in the days of the VIC-20, this idea of automation and robotics is an economic disaster. Because for a consumer economy to work, and remember, before the 2008 mortgage-backed security meltdown, 60% of the U.S. economy was consumer spending. And for consumers to spend, they have to be able to trade their labor and skills for money. They can't just keep on living off their credit cards and their loans. That's also now a dead end. And so I won't do business with a store that has robots. And it's not because I don't like the robots, it's because I like people. And I want people to have jobs. And we're heading toward an economy where you're going to have factories filled with robots to make products that are standing around doing nothing because there are no orders for the products coming on in, because over at the shopping malls are filled with robot salespeople standing around with nothing to do because there are no people coming through to buy the products. And I don't understand why the so-called leading economists of our day don't seem to grasp this simple concept. I really, really don't here. Right now in the United States of America, young adults are more likely to be living with their parents than with a spouse. That's how broke they are. They're having to stay at home with their parents. They're not getting married. We're seeing a major drop in birth rates among Americans. And by the way, for the record, I do live with my spouse. Say hello, spouse. Hello. Okay, there she is. And I can't live with my parents. They're both no longer with us. Here's something that I think shows you just how bad things are getting out there. This is from Zero Hedge. Millennials are now putting everyday items like shoes and sweaters on payment plans. Installment plans, layaway, all of which accrue interest. That's ridiculous. Folks, especially as we head into what looks like another recession, you pay cash or you do without. You need to really take a good look at your life and say, what do I really need to have a comfortable, fulfilling life? And the rest of it just goes away. Do I really need this black velvet Elvis glow-in-the-dark painting in my office? No, I don't. Therefore, I'm not going to buy it, even though it's on sale for only $20. But U.S. debts are now bigger than 2008. new all-time high. Auto loans nearly doubled since 2008 from 740 million to 1.3 trillion. And remember the story we ran yesterday where auto loans are now being stretched to 8 years to lure in new borrowers. 8-year auto loans, that lasts longer than the car does. Student loans surged to 1.6 trillion. Credit card debts are about to cross the $1 trillion mark soon. And here we have a federal government that is so busy fighting with itself and plotting on how to take over the rest of the world, they're just letting this all happen. Our federal government has become dysfunctional. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing that they're not useful. They're of no use to me. They're of absolutely no use to me. We mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again here. Russia's largest oil company, Rosneft, has set the euro as a default currency for all new exports of crude oil and refined products. Russia is dumping the US dollar, dumping treasuries. They're investing in gold and the yuan. And Russia needs to be very careful because of what happened to Iraq. When Iraq set the euro as their currency of choice. Now, are we really, is our government really crazy enough to want to go to war with Russia over whose brand of colored ink and paper we're all going to be using? And it may well be true because right now, keeping up foreign demand for US dollars is the only thing holding the US economy together. We don't manufacture anything people want to buy anymore. Our agricultural produce, first of all, we don't have a lot of it this year because of the flooding. Nobody wants our GMO. The world is shifting dramatically, and it's shifting away from a US-centric reality here. Story that came on out here from Global Research: Iran is China's secret weapon for killing off the US dollar's global reserve status. And basically, it's another indicator that other countries don't want to use the dollar anymore. They don't see it as trustworthy. We're printing up so many new dollars, the value of the dollar is in decline. And I remember it wasn't all that long ago when we were doing business with other countries where the estimate, the bill for the estimate would say, this is only good for 30 days because we don't know what the dollar is going to do. All right, let's take a phone call from Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I just heard what you said about, the guy doing what we did to Iraq, to Russia. That would be literally suicidal. It would be suicidal if we did it conventionally, and it would be suicidal for the entire planet if we did it any other way. Okay, yes. We're dealing with Iraq. And I think even these madmen who are in charge of us hopefully understand that,
I don't know. There seem to be a lot of people in Washington, D.C. who think a nuclear war with Russia and China is winnable. Paul Craig Roberts actually wrote an article about this not too long ago where he said there was actually talk around Washington, D.C. of just hauling off with an unprovoked preemptive nuclear strike against Russia. Just wipe them out and get it all over with, because after all, they've got their bunkers. They've got the Greenbrier, they've got Mount Weather, they've got all these other little places which you paid for, but you're not going to be allowed in there. And they're going to go on down there and stay for 6 months until the radiation cools off, they think. Take a look at how long it's taken for Fukushima to cool down, and it's still not safe to go near there. But they've actually convinced themselves they can win a nuclear war, that our missiles will knock down their missiles, that'll all fall into the ocean. And they are crazy. They're caught up in this apocalyptic idea that a war fought with nuclear weapons could actually succeed. And they're crazy. They're out of their mind.
You know how crazy they are, too, because if anything, Russia is more prepared for this because They have better defensive missiles. On
Yes.
top of that, as well as offensive, and on top of that, they've built the bunkers for their own people. Now, I don't think bunkers are going to do anybody any good because, like, from what I understand, RFK Jr. said his father told him when they wanted them to go to a bunker during a Cuban Missile Crisis, he says, "No, I'm not saying you're not going there. We're not going there because if this happens, if the worst happens, there won't be anything to come up from the bunker to live for."
He's absolutely right. Have you ever? Have you ever seen any photos of the Moscow subway station? I mean,
Yes,
it's
I
this
have.
beautiful subway, artwork all over the walls. It's also a bomb shelter. A lot of people don't realize that.
I do. There was subway stations in New York City like that too. I guess they're still there. I mean, maybe, but most places don't have that. Most places, it's most places there's nothing you could do like you in Hawaii there when you thought that the only thing you could do is like the stupid thing when I was in the Army, they used that there was part of the training was what do you do in case of a nuclear attack? And you're supposed to say you throw yourself down on the ground, throw your poncho. Poncho is like the Army raincoat, You throw your poncho over, but everybody knew what the real answer was, and it's to bend over, put your head between your legs, and kiss your ass goodbye. Everybody knew that. I mean, it was not it was no secret. I mean, there's just no, this is.
Do you remember in school seeing this animated cartoon called Bert the Turtle? Duck and Cover it was called. And it was about this, what to do in case of a nuclear attack. And it came out later on that the government knew that none of this stuff that was in this cartoon was ever actually going to work, but it was a piece of propaganda to convince kids, to convince their parents that nuclear war with Russia would be winnable, which was completely nonsense. And I mean, Russia has built some really huge nuclear weapons. They've got the heavy lift launchers to deliver them. During the early days of the Cold War and the space program, the United States concentrated on making smaller, lighter warheads, while the Russians built larger rockets, which is why they had the advantage over us in the early days of the space program, because they could loft much heavier spacecraft into orbit. But I mean, the Russians built the world's largest atomic bomb, 100 megaton. They were so scared of it when they tested it, they only set it off for 50 megatons, and it still left a heck of a scar on the surface of the Earth.
I don't blame him. I mean, the thought of it, something like this is so horrible. I mean, it's just, but you know what I think maybe one of the problems is with these politics, with a lot of our so-called leaders? I think might be these SRIs. I think a lot of them are on mind drugs.
Could be.
Other kind of pharmaceuticals.
Could be.
I was watching something on YouTube about Putin and their equivalent of Air Force One, and they show him he's running up the stairs to get to Air Force One, and then runs down without holding the rail or anything else when he's exiting. Okay, and I'm thinking of Trump, who slowly wobbles up, and then waddles down, holding the rail. And I think, Trump is only a couple of years older than Putin. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I just compare, just that alone. You see, Putin's a guy who's very clear-minded. He's not on any kind of drugs. He may drink once in a while socially. I mean, but he's not like Yeltsin before him. You know what I mean? He's
Yeltsin could really pack
very
it away.
Level-headed. Yeah, too much. But Putin's really, he's level-headed. He's extremely intelligent. In many ways, I thank God for him because he's very astute in history and all that, and he understands what's going on. All right. If you didn't have somebody that understands what's going on, God help us. When we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, we had a man like JFK who understood what he was dealing with, and you had Khrushchev also. Both understood war. Both were in World War II.
Yep.
And Kennedy was not overwhelmed by these stupid generals and the CIA at the time, because he knew they were full of it. He wasn't, he was a war hero. He didn't need their advice. He had good advice. Thank God he did, including his brother, okay, including Bobby, all right? And thank God we were able to avoid. Well, yeah, he wound up. Yeah, there was a compromise. We got the Russians left took their missiles out, and we took our missiles out of Turkey. And to this very day, I hear sometimes these neocons or sometimes these what I call corporate talk shows berating JFK that he actually pulled those missiles out of Turkey. I mean, could you picture yourself at that time? You can prevent a complete nuclear holocaust just by getting the missiles out of Turkey. Big deal. What were they doing there in the first place?
They were there to threaten the Soviet Union. They were there to threaten the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union felt the only response they could do was to threaten back with the Cuban missiles. Now, this, of course, was in the early days of orbital surveillance, and so there was a concern that missile facilities could, in fact, be concealed from space. There was, these giant satellites that had like these 6 film canisters that they'd shoot pictures, and then the canisters would drop back to Earth to be developed. This is long before digital came along. And the pictures, the images weren't really that good. And so it was considered that, they could hide a missile inside a tree, and everybody was just being totally paranoid.
Yeah, you could have this again. I mean, I've heard that the Russians are thinking of putting missiles in Venezuela and in Cuba. I mean,
they could very easily do. They don't even need to do that. They don't even need to do that. They've got the Buran, their latest SSBN. They can put that anywhere in the world. Okay, got to let you go, Mark. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check. But there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And you're not going to believe this next story. I mean, yes, you will. But it's so far out there, and you have to wonder what's going on with people. So down near Atlanta in Georgia, there is this Kroger market. Kroger's a very nice supermarket. I've been to them. I think in Cincinnati, we shopped at a Kroger's and everything. And this particular Kroger market has been the victim of high levels of theft. And so they installed a new security system where all of the store aisles are surrounded with these Lexan panels, and there is a single entrance and exit to go in and do your shopping and come on out. And of course, there's a security guard there keeping an eye to make sure that everything that you've got there is being checked out. Okay, so far so good. And this has prompted a reaction from the neighborhood, which is 92% black, that this is racist. It's discrimination, and they're out there screaming, you know, how dare you do this here? I mean, you don't see this kind of thing in these other Krogers. To which Kroger's replied, we're not seeing the theft problem in these other stores that we see here. This has nothing to do with race. It has to do with the fact that we have to make a profit and that there's a theft problem here, and we've got to deal with it. And it makes perfect sense here. But these days, everything just seems to be about race. Oh, it's race. Oh, you're being racist. If you're trying to protect your store from being shoplifted, you must be a racist here. Okay, very bizarre story. This one came out of government slaves. California has a new plan to solve the homeless problem. They're going to start throwing homeless people in prison, which is certainly going to be better than sleeping on the streets and pooping on the sidewalks here. The problem being that somebody's going to have to pay for all of this because these homeless people are going to have to be fed. And more importantly, there's not a lot of extra room in the California prisons. So who are they going to be letting out to put the homeless people in? I don't know, the people who are over there looting the Krogers, rapists, muggers, whatever. All right, Jeff Epstein is back in the news. They're still digging out facts about what's going on. We had talked before about these photos that we saw with Jeff Epstein with people like Stephen Hawking and some other world famous scientists, and how he'd made some very generous donations to places like MIT and Harvard. And at the time I was saying, well, you know, I guess he's not all bad. All right, we got to take a break here for station identification. Back with more about Jeff Epstein in hour number 3 after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, the history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3, and this time I mean it. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We're talking about Jeff Epstein, and of course we all know what was going on with the underage girls. We know now, thanks to this former Israeli intelligence officer, this was all an operation being run by the Mossad. And on the one hand, I kept saying, how could anybody be so stupid as to go into one of these buildings, you know, knowing these underage girls are around there for sexual purposes? And it turns out that Jeff was being a little bit more clever than we gave him credit for, because there were all these photos of Epstein with these world famous scientists, and he made these very generous donations to places like Harvard and MIT. And it turned out that was the bait, because he would make these donations and then he would tell these intellectuals, these geniuses, come on down for the weekend. Okay, I got some people that you want to meet. Then he would call his billionaire friends and say, look, we're going to have Stephen Hawking down here, and we're going to have, all these other sciences there. And the billionaires on Wall Street were convinced science was sexy. It was a way to beat the markets. There was one of the scientists actually claimed that he gamed the stock market by studying the mating patterns of termites. And they fell for it. And so you had all these scientists who were there. They were getting money from Jeff Epstein. You had all these billionaires who were there to pick the brains of the scientists. And of course, standing around are all these underage girls. And if nature took its course, then of course Epstein had the video and the audio. And so quite a sophisticated operation here. And I don't think he's dead. I think he's still out there somewhere. All right, we are in the middle of streaming wars. In fact, earlier today, Claire and I had to go on over and do the paperwork to sign up for our internet and our cable TV and all the rest of that stuff. But the streaming wars are heating up. Disney has now banned all Netflix ads from all of its Disney channels. Don't want you even getting the idea of going over to Netflix. I think there might be a potential restraint of trade lawsuit there. But Netflix has got other problems to deal with, because apparently they've been hit with a huge tax evasion probe by Italian prosecutors. So they have been very, very naughty, or at least according to the Italians here. This next story is, there's some problems with it, but basically what it comes down to, according to the European Court of Justice, the top court of the European Union, Facebook must comply with demands from EU nations to remove content deemed illegal, even if the material falls outside their jurisdiction. Now, this would undermine freedom of speech on the internet. All you would need is anybody in the EU to say, this is hate speech, it's got to go. You know, they're criticizing Netanyahu's haircut. That's it. And I have, first of all, a couple of problems with it. The first one is the attack on freedom of speech. And second of all, this idea that the European Court of Justice has jurisdiction over the rest of the world. That's like saying that the United States Supreme Court can issue decisions that affect, Australia, for example. It's not going to stand up. There's going to be a challenge. Somebody's going to have to come on in and say that this can't be done here. Speaking of Australia, apparently Great Britain, the United States, and Australia have all demanded that Facebook provide backdoor access to WhatsApp and other encrypted messengers. Now, there are two problems with that. The first one is that these backdoors become available to cyber criminals. If they're not able to black box them, all they have to do is go to some underpaid Facebook employee and say, look, we'll give you $5,000 if you tell me how the back door works, and it'll be out there in cyberspace, and all of your secrets will be known to the cyber criminals. That's one big problem. The second big problem is that real criminals, real terrorists, real dangers to our society are not going to be using off-the-shelf encrypted messengers. They're going to develop their own, or they're going to be using euphemistic language or code words. This whole idea of backdoor access is about spying on ordinary law-abiding people and making them vulnerable to cyber criminals. And that's all it's going to do. That's all it's going to do. Remember that article I wrote on challenging the NSA? And over the course of a year, I wrote 6 encryption challenges, and I sent them to the NSA, and I said, I'll bet you cannot break a single one of these. And they didn't. It was 0 for 6, the NSA. By the way, in front of the NSA, there's this sculpture that is decorated with encrypted messages in some of the more traditional known codes like Vegenaire. And apparently 2 of them still have not been decoded. So we are not impressed very much. Facebook has now removed hundreds of accounts from Egypt and the United Arab Emirates for spreading misinformation. It's not being told to us who is identifying it as misinformation, but it's misinformation. It must go. They're really coming down hard on the independent media and private communication. I mean, right now, all of these governments, as we head closer and closer to a world war, they absolutely do not want you to see anything that they don't want you to see. They don't want you to hear anything that they don't want you to hear. They don't want you to read anything they don't want you to read. If it's not the officially approved story, it is verboten. Das ist the fake news. That is the fake news. We're seeing the modern equivalent of Nazi book burning happening on our electronic devices. And it's just as evil here. Another article from Government Slaves here. Apparently, the government can now activate your phone camera to stream live video of whatever you are seeing. Which on my phone would be my face reflected back, I guess. I know there's a camera on the other side there. But again, it's just another example of how intrusive this has all become. Fourth Amendment, what Fourth Amendment? There's no Fourth Amendment. We can't let the Fourth Amendment get in the way of the terrorists. Terrorists aren't using this stuff. Terrorists are building their own. Organized crime, they're building their own encrypted communications. Drug smugglers are building their own encrypted communications. They've got the money to do it. I mean, I did the NSA challenge on an old laptop, air-gapped, over the course of a year. Spent hardly any money to do it, and I beat the NSA. You think some drug cartel down in South America with millions of dollars at their disposal, that they aren't able to figure out a way to get around all of this spying? Of course they can. it's just another one of these things. Well, we've got to do this and we need more money. We need more money to spy on the American people because we can't trust those American people. They may be thinking those double plus ungood thoughts. Okay, this is going to be a major failure. Apparently over in China, they've decided they're going to use facial recognition to authorize you to use the web. And I guess they sort of got the idea from the new iPhone, where you look at the iPhone and it turns on. But as I understand it, that hasn't worked out all that well. Okay. Now, here's an interesting story, and I'd actually seen others just like it. This is from the Daily Mail. And it's saying, ditch Facebook to be happy. Apparently, these scientists down in Ecuador and some other colleagues basically split the participants into two groups. They also had students at Texas A&M University. And they had one group took a week's break from Facebook and the other who stayed basically using the platform as they normally did. And they found the students who went off Facebook were more productive, reported feeling less depressed, engaged in healthier activities, and even made fewer impulse purchases and ate out less. So getting out of Facebook is good for your health. Of course, I stopped using Facebook about a year ago. Still post to Twitter every once in a great while. I've been posting pictures of our move from Hawaii to here in Indiana. All right, let's grab a phone call from Mike in Brazil. Aloha, Mike. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. You were talking about encryption.
Yes.
I took all your C cup, for your program, and I'm turning down. I'm actually adding to it in Fortran and Ada. Okay, I want to see which one. Ada is a very powerful language, actually, probably Fortran. But for the sake of number crunching, Fortran is best, and everybody knows that. But Ada has a little, some tricks.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Mike, let me back up here a little bit. Fortran is a great number crunching program, and Fortran 4 is the first high-level computer language I ever learned, but it lacks capabilities in the handling of arrayed data, especially sparse arrays, and that's why I went with KNRC for my encryption. And but other people are taking that code and they're porting it into like Python and various other things. And you could build a standalone device on a Raspberry Pi that would allow you to do encrypted communication. The whole point is, if the government doesn't know the methodology, they can't break the code. And when I finally get back into this thing, I'm going to work on a system where the methodology changes over time to further annoy the heck out of those NSA people.
Let me ask you this: Are you familiar with the Spark language?
Not too much. It's not one I really spend a lot of time in.
It's basically Spark language is a subset of Ada. Okay, it's a verification. It's a code verification language to make sure that the Ada program runs smoothly. And Ada actually, believe it or not, it's used in programming the avionics of 777. The Boeing 777 is all programmed. All the avionics on board is programmed in Ada. Okay, in case people probably don't even know this. Ada is the most powerful programming language.
The government mandated Ada to be used for all military industrial programming. And of course, you could get exceptions to it. And they were spending more time writing exceptions. It's my understanding, it's not really a very good language. I still prefer KNRC or C++. But I mean, every once in a while, somebody comes up with a new language to meet a new imagined need and necessity. And by the way, I got another update on my iPhone today. You know, I got iOS 13 on Monday. I got iOS 13.1 Wednesday, and today I got iOS 13.2. They're sending out this stuff without checking it out.
Mike, can I say something here? Okay. I understand C++ is a powerful language, but it's not, in terms of derivatives, type derivatives, you know, it's very weak. It's different than ADA. ADA won't let you make a mistake. When you define a type or a subtype, it has to conform with the parameters that you set forth.
You do the same thing with C++.
You just screw up.
No, you can do the same thing with C++ because, you know, C++ was the object-oriented version of KNRC. And you have to define a type structure. And if you don't do it correctly, the software simply doesn't work.
No, but what I'm saying, Mike, is that C++ lets you get away with it. It's not strong typed. Neither is C. This is the problem. ADA is very strict. When you put in a type, okay, it has to conform to the parameters that you define. If it's outside the bounds, it just won't compile. Period. End of story. So this is the reason why the DoD adopted ADA as the primary language for defense contractors because it's very secure. It's used for embedded systems. And it's used for avionics, as you probably know, the 777, it's all programmed in ADA. And the Skylab also is used with ADA and Unix, believe it or not, not Unix, Linux. I'm sorry, I made a mistake here.
No, Linux is very successful. Skylab, that one crashed, as I recall.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. No, not the Skylab. I'm sorry. I'm a little old, Mike. But I'm talking about the space station.
Yes.
It's all programmed in, they use Linux for that. And
Linux is a great language
to me.
And if anybody wants to learn Linux, get a Raspberry Pi. They're so inexpensive, $30, and you've got a complete Linux machine.
Right now, I'm running 6 versions of Linux on my computer, in virtual machines, of course. And I'm telling you, I don't know which one to stay with. They're beautiful. I mean, the interface is beautiful. You know, the shell is beautiful. You know, it's not like blank like Microsoft or like Apple. Actually, Apple is the only operating system which is Unix-certified. It's built on Linux. I'm sorry, Unix. And but Linux, actually Apple, the Unix operating system. The Unix operating system. But what I'm trying to say is that ADA is of the future, and very few people. I've spoken to a few developers here in the area, and they never even heard of ADA. They never even heard of it. And they asked me, what kind of a language is that object-oriented? I said, of course it is object-oriented.
I mean, it's been around for a very long time. And, I mean, I ran into a lot of people who were trying to work with it at NASA. And they didn't like it at all here. By the way, Apple is based on the Berkeley Standard Distribution Unix.
Yeah. It's amazing. People don't even know what ADA is because they never teach it in
Nobody wanted to use it.
When I was in college. Yeah,
nobody wanted to use it. It was a pain in the neck. And by the way, you can do type and bounds checking in C and C++ with compile time switches.
Yeah, that's true. That's true because they teach. Okay, they start you off with Fortran. If you're a scientist, if you're going for a science major, and they want to make sure you know how to program in Fortran, preferably 2003 or above. And then you graduate to C and then C++. Usually, this is how the order of things go. But ADA, nobody even heard of it. I mean, I was stunned. I said, for Christ's sake, the 777,
nobody wanted to use it. It was a typical government
in ADA, all of it.
Typical government project. Nobody wanted to use it. And by the way, NASA right now is actually trying to recruit Fortran 4 coders to maintain the code on some of the older spacecraft that are out there.
Yeah. I've heard something about it. What I do basically, I code in Fortran and ADA. Okay, this is my main. I stay away from C++ because it's way too complex and it carries a very heavy overhead. Okay, this is the problem with C++. And
well, that's,
I try to stay
part
away
of
from
that
it. It's a good language.
object-oriented structure. Anyway, listen, Mike, I got to let you go. We got a terrible phone connection
All right,
as it is.
Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We'll be back after these commercials.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to take a phone call now from Terry in California. Aloha, Terry. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I was doing, I heard you say something the other day I really had a question about, but
I did a Google search on the mean income of the average American, and it was $61,000 a year. And then I did the average income, which was $52,000 a year. And I thought I heard you tell Al in Canada the other day that you could not live, you could not maintain a middle class lifestyle on less than $350,000 a year. Did I hear that right?
You heard that right. And it basically means, you know, the vast majority of people who think they're middle class, they're not really. We's all poor folk.
Oh, right. Okay. So how do you define a middle class person? A middle class lifestyle.
Well, again, this is the government's coming on out saying that if you're making $350,000 a year, you can afford a middle class lifestyle, which we presume means you're able to buy a home with a mortgage, buy a car, you know, have a vacation, so forth and so on. But you know, obviously, we're hearing about people who are only making $50,000, $60,000 a year. They're living with their parents. They're having to take out these usurious car loans for 8 years to get transportation. Americans are struggling and they're suffering right now. And I think one of the big lies that we're being told is, well, you're really all middle class and you're just complaining, you know, and whining and crying because you don't have all the toys that you'd like to have. But the reality of the matter is that the vast majority of the American people are not living a middle class lifestyle.
Well, I live in a house that's paid for. I'm retired. I live off Social Security and some other pensions, and I guess my total income comes up to about $90,000 a year. You know, and
well, if your house is paid for, I mean, that's a big part of that.
Right. Well, you know, my daughter in Los Angeles, she can't afford a down payment, so she's paying like $3,000 a month for rent. You know, with 2 kids and a husband. So things have really changed. So, but it just sounded like a big figure when you said, you know, middle class is $350,000 a year. I guess upper class is $1 million.
I don't know where that cutoff is coming from, but you know, in the article that I read, it basically said that $350,000 a year defines middle class in the United States of America. And the reality is that most people who think they're middle class, they aren't really. And things are unfortunately likely to get a little bit worse.
So I'm a lower class, and you know, if I'm not middle class. And not too many people are middle class.
Me, I'm bottom class. I'm as bottom class as they get.
Well, you know, if the median income is $61,000, you know, not too many people are up and way up there in the middle class lifestyle.
No, they're not. I mean, it's one of the major reasons we had to leave Hawaii and come here to Indiana. We simply couldn't afford to live there anymore. You know, we got hit with a $300 a month rent increase all at once with no warning. Everything there is very expensive because it all has to be shipped in from the mainland. And it just got to the point where we were sinking fast. And so we finally made the decision that it was time to get off that rock here, and we came here to Indiana because we've got family who are helping to take care of us.
Well, maybe if you're in Indiana, your middle class lifestyle is less than $350,000.
Could very well be. I mean, we're moving into our new place on Sunday. It's more than twice the floor space of what we had on Oahu at less than half the monthly rent, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. The forest comes right up to the back there. I cannot wait to get my cameras and telephoto lenses out because I love wildlife photography, and it's just all over the place here. And I love the geology.
But you still won't come up to the middle class level now, huh?
You know, I really don't think in those terms about being upper class, middle class, lower class. I just want to have a comfortable life. You know, I don't need to be a multimillionaire. And
That's why I really got perked up there when you said 350,000 for, like a middle class life. So anyway, Mike, that's
let me ask you a question, Terry. Are you happy with your life?
Except for my health, I am. Yes.
Okay, well, I understand the issues with the health here. I just went through a health crisis myself. But if you're happy with your life, then that's all that really matters. And don't let somebody come on out arbitrarily and say, well, you're lower class and you're middle class and we're upper class and therefore we're superior to you. It's just to heck with that. If you've got a comfortable life, that's all you really need. It really is all you need.
Exactly.
Anyway, Terry, got to let you go. Got to take a break from commercial. Got another caller waiting on the line. We will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat, very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice read. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and a very appropriate piece of bump music given the previous phone call that we had. We're going to go back to the phones now to Art in Philadelphia. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Just a quick comment on the last call.
That article was about someone living in Silicon Valley that they're saying a middle-class lifestyle to live there is $350,000 a year. That's not a nationwide estimate from what I read.
Okay, all right, I stand corrected.
Right. But, yeah, obviously the cost of living there is through the roof. With respect to the previous caller from Brazil talking about ADA, I worked with it. First of all, it was developed at Fort Monmouth in New Jersey by Grady Bush, who was basically told to innovate the existing military languages, which were like CMS-2 for the Navy and Jovio for the Air Force and the Army. And he basically went off on a tangent and created that. ADA has some serious problems with it in the actual management of it. I actually worked with it for 12 years. The idea of object-oriented programming has an inherent problem to begin with. You got to define the object. Well, that's like defining how to build the perfect car, which is the object, the first time you build a car. You can't do it.
Yes.
Okay? It causes your cost of doing business for that project to go through the roof, and it's had major cost overruns. It does have the advantage, as the guy from Brazil says, it prevents boundary conditions where people do, fat finger typos, that it catches that to make sure things don't go out of bounds. It does have that. But overall,
but you can do that with C compile time switches. Every time I wrote a C program, I had a whole bunch of diagnostics up at the top in if-def statements. And when I'd compile for development, I'd say, please define this thing. And it would do things like bounds checks on arrays and whatnot. And when I got all the problems out, then I took out the compile time switches, and then it would compile and run quickly.
Yep. I actually became the first Unix programmer, the third Unix programmer in the state of California back in the early 80s. And actually went back and worked at AT&T with the guys who invented the Unix operating system. I actually met Kerninger, pointed out that he had an undocumented feature in the C programming language. You have a triple pointer in there. So you do triple, star, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Yes.
And also talked to Kerninger and Ritchie. I meant to say Bjornstrap. I met him there talking about C++.
Yes.
C++ is nowhere near as good as an ADA programming language for object-oriented programming. And it is true. It is, it's basically a performance hog. What I'm seeing is a lot of people in airspace are going right back to C. Writing C code in C++ is what they're doing, which is based on the old
that's
IBM
what I did.
PL1.
That's what I did for the NSA challenge. And I went back, dusted off my old KNRC manuals, and I just developed these blocks of code. And at my age, I don't feel like learning a new computer language. I do like to play with Linux. I had a couple of Raspberry Pis, which unfortunately were some of the things we had to leave behind in Oahu. I do have Linux running in an emulator on my big Windows computer, which is still in a shipping container. But I do like being able to talk to the bare metal, which is a lot easier to do with Linux than it is to do with Windows.
Correct. Now, I also wanted to comment on some things. You mentioned Kroger. Well, basically being in IT consulting, at least once a week I get an email from the Indian job shop saying, we got all these job openings for Kroger over there in their office, I believe, in Cincinnati. So one thing to let you know about Kroger is they don't hire Americans, okay, for all their IT work. And also, if you look on liveleak.com, they just had a movie, a video in there, like a few minutes, that talks about Walmart, that their whole shop down there in Bentonville, Arkansas, that they're not hiring any Americans, they're using the Indian job shops. So when we're talking about immigration, especially this new Senate Bill 365 and the House Bill 1104, I believe, where they want to basically give 90% of all the H-1B visas to India, I have a real problem with that one. Okay, we need to hire Americans. I have a real problem with that one
too. I'm a great believer in putting America first, and I seem to recall a candidate in 2016 talking about that. But yeah, we've got to put Americans back to work first. We've got to make sure they're educated so that they can compete with some of these kids coming over from India and Asia. And that, of course, is a failure of our public education system, Common Core, and the fact that it's more about indoctrination than actual education. And now that we're here in Indiana and I get a chance to talk to a lot of the younger members of the family, and I can see where there are serious gaps in their understanding about things like basic math and science. And you can't build a country without science and math. You really can't. And it's all in the name of a fast buck. And I just can't see this country surviving for much longer without a major change of direction.
Right, I would agree with you. Now, on the national front, there's an issue that I'm not hearing anybody talk about. Again, they had some articles on Live Leak videos about Brexit, that on November 1st, the EU takes over the British military. They all basically then change their oath of office to the European Union and also get their nukes. And somehow that's just not an issue. Okay, I think that's the major issue out there. We could lose a partner. We could use the British Empire and basically be looking at two adversaries, the European Union, the Russians, the Chinese, in addition to the other enemies we got. Somehow people don't even see that as an issue. It's not even being talked about.
Well, I think it's like I said earlier in the show, because of all the sanctions and the wars and tariffs and just the general bullying in general, I think the rest of the world is learning how to get along without the United States of America. The economic, political structure of Earth is reforming into this giant donut shape with an empty hole where the United States used to be.
Right. But we're talking about November 1st, the Rothschilds get a hold of the British nukes.
Yep.
And somehow that's just not an issue anybody talks about. I think it's the biggest issue on the international front that we have. But thank you for taking my call.
All right. Well, Art, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open here. And let me just do that real quick. All right. Story I'm going to insert here right now. Claire just sent it to me. And it's talking about the Ebola crisis is worsening. It's in Central Africa. It's claimed over 2,000 lives. 3,000 confirmed infections, according to the World Health Organization. It's now threatening Tanzania. But the article comes along and says, but a new vaccine appears effective. There's the sales pitch. Get the vaccine for Ebola. Now, the question I have with that is that Ebola is a filovirus. It is based on a single strand of RNA, not DNA, RNA that doubles back on itself and is capable of mutating very, very rapidly. So a vaccine that might work on one patient, it's not going to be guaranteed it's going to work on the next patient because they'd be dealing with a different pathogen. But hey, it's going to make money. And so I guess that's really all that matters. We had that story the other day where they came on out and said the CEOs of the pharmaceutical corporations, they feel their top responsibility is to their stockholders, not to their customers. All right, story here that came on out from Activist Post here, and it's talking about needing an ID to ride a train. Now, if you fly, you're already subject, you have to have your passport, your driver's license, your real ID, which, we now have to comply with because we're changing our licenses here in Indiana. But apparently, they've never really gotten around to nailing down the ID requirements to ride a train, especially on Amtrak or Greyhound bus. And these are basically how undocumented people get around the country. And it's a huge gap. To go to the airport, you have to show all this ID and everything. But apparently, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can get onto an Amtrak train or a Greyhound bus and go anywhere in the country that you want to do. And they don't have a clear answer on how they're going to deal with this. And it is going to be an issue because, the Democrats want the illegal immigrants to just sort of come and go at will, to go into the various red districts to turn them blue. And if all of a sudden there were a policy of saying you can't get on a bus or a train without some kind of identification proving that you are a real ID citizen, then all of a sudden we're going to have a whole bunch of illegal immigrants just standing around the sidewalks of our city with nothing to do. Anyway, here is a good case of embarrassment, if you will. This trio of Democratic lawmakers decided to hold a town hall on gun control. And they were out there saying the NRA has got to go and the guns are bad and everything. But somebody somewhere made a mistake, because the venue for the town hall was at the Multi Lakes Conservation Association in Commerce Township, Michigan, which is a gun range. And so 90% of the people who showed up at this event, they didn't even realize what it was going to be about. And so you had this Democratic congresswoman out there screaming, NRA has got to go. And of course, the audience just went totally ballistic on her. Little bit of a goof on that one. Now, the other day we were talking about Zantac and how it's being pulled from pharmacy shelves because it's been discovered that one of the chemicals used in its manufacture can cause cancer. And so Walmart has now joined Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS in pulling Zantac from shelves. And if you have it in your medicine chest, you might want to take it back for a refund. And you kind of wonder, don't they check this stuff before it goes on out? Well, the other big health problem everybody is dealing with right now, there are currently 7 listeria-related food recalls in effect in this country. Now, listeria is a biological disease, and it can be very serious. Over 90% of the people who become infected with listeria are hospitalized. It has a mortality rate of 20 to 30%. Symptoms can appear as early as the same day of exposure or as late as 70 to 90 days after infection. Listeria can live in cold temperatures. It multiplies rapidly and can live for years on equipment in places food is prepared. See, that's how it spreads, basically on things like meat slicers and knives. And it's back in the news because there are several outbreaks and recalls that you need to be aware of. And it's a foodborne bacteria. And apparently one of the recalls is Bardwell Farm cheese that has been recalled. Let's get this back up here. Okay. Miss my big machine. Okay, so you've got the Bardwell cheese, and you've got apparently in a September 30 press release, the company listed the potentially contaminated products they are voluntarily recalling. Now, if you belong to one of those big box stores like Sam's or Costco, and you've got a membership card, you will get an email notification that this is happening out there. Apparently, on September 28th, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service announced that Tip Top Poultry Incorporated in Rockmart, Georgia, is recalling an undetermined amount of ready-to-eat poultry products that appear to be adulterated with listeria. And again, it's great that the FDA is out here looking at this stuff after the people are getting sick, but how about getting to it first? So anyway, apparently the frozen, cooked, diced, or shredded RTE chicken products were produced between January 21st, 2019 and September 24th, 2019. And if you go to this article, which is on the front page of whatreallyhappened.com, they have lists of the actual names of the products there. But apparently the brands include Tip Top, Butterball, that's certainly going to be a problem come Thanksgiving, Purdue, GFS, Clean Eats Cafe, Cisco, Delicious Farms, spelled with a Z, and West Creek. So the USDA recommends throwing these products out or returning them to the place of purchase. Apparently up in Canada, there is this company called Metro Ontario, and they're recalling Metro brand deli trays due to listeria contamination. And here's one of the interesting things. I know a lot of people, when they go to the market, they like to go to the deli counter and have their cold cuts sliced fresh right there. And believe it or not, you are more likely to be exposed to listeria on those slicing machines than getting the pre-packaged, vacuum packaged meat. So you may want to be keeping an eye out for that. Fisher Packing Company of Red Key, Indiana, not far from here, is recalling approximately 744 pounds of ready-to-eat pork products that may be contaminated. And apparently, this does involve vacuum seal packages containing Fisher Meats old-fashioned smoked hams. The lot code is 19239 on the label. Vacuum seal packages of various weights of Fisher Meats smoked ham shanks with natural juices. Vacuum seal packages of various weights of Fisher Meats Canadian bacon with a freeze-by date of 11/25/19, lot code of 19239 on the label. Brand spelled BRANDT, extra lean kielbasa sausage is another one you need to look out for. Bagged salad kits and kale. I know a lot of people like to use the bagged salad kits. You get the bag, it's already got everything in there, but apparently Ransland Farms is having to recall their bagged salad kits here. And there is a nationwide salmon recall in the United States right now. Listeria. And it's ugly. It's a bad thing. Down in Florida, there's an entire business has shut down due to listeria contamination. We're going to take a commercial break. Back with the rest of our show after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today. We're talking about listeria, which has become, unfortunately, a major problem in this country. A lot of products are being recalled. You got to keep an eye out for this. Down in Florida, Penn Dutch, which sold meat, poultry, and seafood at 2 locations in Broward County, just filed for bankruptcy after closing their stores in September because of a listeria contamination. They then had a going out of business sale at one of the 2 locations, which doesn't really strike me as being a particularly smart thing to do. Now, what we're dealing with here, of course, let's see, Flying Food Group, which is a ready-to-eat food manufacturer, has been given an FDA warning for multiple violations involving listeria. And inspectors found serious violations of the current good manufacturing practice. What this all comes down to, this is not like it's something that, it's just out there and you're going to catch it and you're going to get ill. It comes down to sanitization and sterilization of your cooking utensils, of buying a block of meat, if you really want sliced meat, slicing it yourself using utensils that you have cleaned and sanitized yourself. You can actually buy household products. It's not dish soap, it's sanitization, and it's designed to kill things like listeria. The church that Claire went to when we were in IAEA, when we had any kind of a food-involved situation, in addition to washing all the dishes, there was a separate tank of this sterilization, sanitization chemical that they did. And they never had an outbreak there. But apparently right now, the CDC is investigating a multi-state outbreak of listeriosis. And basically, you just have to handle deli sliced meats and cheeses carefully and possibly slice them yourself. I mean, you can go down to like the Walmart or Sam's or Costco, and you can get a little home slicer that you use, and then you take it apart and you put it in the dishwasher. You put it on the hottest water setting that there is, and you know that the listeria bacteria are going to be destroyed. So you got to take responsibility for your own health. I mean, the government's on the case of all these companies after the damage is done. That's the part you have to keep in mind. People got sick. And then the government says, oh, gee, we must be seeing to do something here. All righty. Greta Thunberg, who's being held aloft as the successor of Jesus for her campaign against human-caused global warming, is apparently being considered to win the Nobel Peace Prize following her How Dare You speech at the United Nations. And along, of course, with Al Gore getting up there to accept the prize. He didn't actually win it. I think the Nobel Peace Prize has discredited itself. Okay, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. And please spread the word of RBN. We need to grow our audience. We need to grow the audience for whatreallyhappened.com. We need more people to basically step on in and help keep us funded and on the air. So thank you for those who have contributed. Thank you for those who are about to contribute. We'll be back tomorrow. Back on Monday. It's Powell Hunter Friday. And have a good weekend.